Okay. My guest today is Nicole Banks, a true power connector who knows how to bring the right people together. Nicole's got the stories, the insight, and probably a few laughs for us today. Let's get started. All right, Nicole, are you ready?
I am ready.
What's your oh no moment? I can't believe I just said that at an event.
Yeah, so I was at a recent networking event of mine, intentional speed networking. And at the very beginning of the event, I go through, 2-3 minutes of, what to do, how to do it, what you need to focus on. And part of my approach is that you take a selfie with the person that's sitting across from you so that you can immediately start that conversation. You remember who you spoke to, and it's a way to really kind of build that camaraderie from the beginning. And I was like, yep, you just take a selfie with your beautiful selves and, it'll be amazing. And one of the guys, like 75 plus year old, cantankerous old man, was like, well, I'm not beautiful. I'm like, well, I think you are. And it was kind of one of those awkward points. There's not anything really to say afterwards, and the room kind of felt blank. But you know what? You live and you learn, and you do your best in the improv way of doing things.
You do, yes. And I've been in one of your events, and it was actually really fun. I loved going.
Thank you.
Who's the most unforgettable character you've met through networking?
Well, I'll say there's probably 24 honorable mentions. I love to shout out Tab Pierce. Tab is a wonderful mentor and friend, but he's unapologetically himself all of the time. And the quips that come out of his mouth, the wisdom, the insights aren't what you may necessarily think of, but they're always wise. And the other thing I'll say is, he has this obnoxious shirts that he wears, and he's always talking about the love that he has for his wife, Catherine, and he's just memorable. And I think that's the one thing that I'll say is once you meet Tab, you can't forget it.
That is true. Yes, we did a video with him, and he definitely brought his one of his fabulous shirts to the interview. If you had to explain your faith in one sentence to a stranger, what would you say?
For me and my faith journey, it was my grandmother's dying wish. I was 11. My parents weren't religious. And so it was really an opportunity that I had to come to religion on my own. I wasn't indoctrinated. I wasn't, forced into it. I wasn't even asked into it. And so I think, if I were to put it all down into one, sentence, I think, my faith is basically my choice that I came to. It wasn't forced upon me.
Mm-hmm. What's a story from your past that you've never told anyone?
So my grandmother, so my dad was adopted by Filipinos, and my grandmother was this 4'11", just spicy, very stubborn woman, and she loved to have her fun, and sometimes it was at other people's expense. Oh. And in this story, my parents were on date night, and so my grandma was babysitting us, or me. My sister wasn't born yet. So babysitting me, and she got live crabs to cook for dinner and decided to let me play with them before dinner started. So I'm in the kitchen. I got cabinets on all sides. She put me, on my butt there, and I was barely able to crawl at the time. And so she kept putting the crabs, and they come towards me. I'd scream and holler, and that whole bit. And it was a game that she kept playing until my parents came home, and they're like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, it's fine." Oh, come on, character. Okay, she's less than 2. This is not the time to learn character. But yeah, this is one of the funny stories I'll always remember about her.
I bet you had a lot of fun with your grandmother.
Yeah.
What's one moment in your life that you thought would be a disaster but ended up being amazing?
Yeah, when I was 22, I was rear-ended in a car accident by a guy going 50 miles an hour who never hit the brakes. I was coming home. I was working at Amco Transmissions. I started my career there at 18, and then, had continued to work and basically did kind of Nicole's shop nightmares instead of Gordon Ramsay's kitchen nightmares. And so in that span was going in, fisting shops, loved it, really enjoyed my work. But the shop that I was working at and where I lived was about an hour apart. And so I decided to take the coast route. instead of going the freeways. And like I said, ended up in a really bad car accident. It took 2 years of rehab to sit, stand, walk, run, do all those things. And it eventually ended up in me getting an experimental procedure. The second person in the world to get it. And there was a 4% chance I would be paralyzed. Went ahead and went through it. And at this point, everything's great, thanks to modern medicine. But, obviously, that accident derailed my life for 2 years. And so I, was not optimistic and was not hopeful and, all of those things. But, it led to me switching careers and doing amazing things in the medical industry and now running my own business.
Wow. That's amazing. Nicole, we have a special question that we ask every single one of our guests.
Okay.
Do you have a testimony from God?
Testimony for God?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. For me, I didn't come to faith by, anything other than my choice. And with that, I had a lot of trauma in my upbringing. And in that, my Monsignor, for those that aren't Catholic, basically it's like a super priest, not just a regular priest. And, through confession, I was able to share kind of what was going on at my house and in my home life. And he took it upon himself to get me as involved as possible because being in church was a reliable excuse to my parents. And so from there, I doubled down and I was a Eucharistic minister, lector, and part of the parish secretary and the committee and the harvest festival, and went through, and my Monsignor basically had all of these different things that he would get me to do so that I wouldn't have to be home.
Wow.
And in that, I know that a lot of people have their stories about Catholic priests or Monsignors or the church in general being a detriment to their lives or something that held them back or something even more atrocious. But for me, it saved my life. I spent so much time with the priest, and I was really able to see God's works. Doing the senior Thanksgiving dinner and serving the homeless, you were able to see God's works. Working with the parish secretary and seeing how the actual church itself was ran and the humanitarianism, in the community, I was able to see that. Seeing the influence that the Monsignor had and the men of the community and the families and that approach was also able for me to kind of see God's works through him. And so, my testimony is more about the impact for me is undeniable because of all the different things that I've seen, all of the different situations I came to be. It's undeniable. And, what I'll say too is, I took it one step further and I got into doing retreats for high school students. And over probably 10 years, I probably did 200 retreats throughout basically people in the whole 50-mile radius. They would come to this, center, and I was basically the retreat person. And to see God's works in the teenagers, some who maybe have been pregnant or were engaged or, were not living the right path, in God's eyes, to make that transition to accept God and, to get to the point where I was teaching communion and catechism and confirmation in English and Spanish. And so for me, it was great to see the change in their lives too. And I think that to me is the other point of it, is not only did I receive that love, but I was able to help to kind of give that love to these, teenagers and that whole bit, and to see the difference in their lives. Some of the times I didn't even know what I was saying, but it was exactly what they needed to hear. And so it was words I wouldn't use and phrases that were that important to me, but I made sure that they understood. And it was at that point I knew that it was out of my hands. It wasn't necessarily something that I was trying to do. It was God through me. So both in, kind of receiving and giving, I think God's been crucial to my success.
Well, that's a good story for you.
Yeah, Nicole, thank you for that testimony, because you hear a lot of people are hearing more of the negative side of church, but just hearing something different of the positive side, which there is, churches that can change your life, especially, God working through another person to help you. So thank you for that.
That, and I think a lot of people just look at the church and ignore the fact that there's also God.
Welcome to Lavardi, the future of travel and freedom. Lavardi is a members-only platform that gives you access to unbeatable prices on hotels, resorts, cruises, car rentals, you name it. No blackout dates, no hidden fees, just real savings every time you book. And the best part, you can actually get paid to share this with others. So if you're someone who loves to travel, save money, and make an impact, this is for you. Join the Lavardi family and let's build a life with no limits. Lavardi. DJ at golavardi.com. Travel smarter, live freer.
Okay, I've got some fun questions.
Love it.
So, what is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten and did you enjoy it?
So my grandmother's Filipino.
Uh-huh.
There is a Filipino delicacy called dinaguan. And for those that are not familiar, it is basically a purple, black, mealy substance that is served on rice. But this is very gross, but delicious. It is ox blood that is basically boiled and boiled and boiled and boiled. And octopus and squid ink and beef and some root vegetables stewed for like days. And so it's like this sludge that you put on rice that's super salty. I have the autoimmune disorder, so I need more salt than the average person.
Yeah.
So I can just put that and just eat and eat and eat. I mean, it kind of smells weird. Definitely like kind of weirdly stings your teeth because of the ink.
Okay.
Black, purple?
Blackish purple. It's,
Oh, wow.
took a few days.
Oh,
My grandmother actually would feed it to me by her handful. My parents wouldn't eat it because they knew what was in it, and I was like, oh, just
loved
eat
it.
it from her hands. So another funny story for my grandmother. But yeah, it's something that's definitely weird by Western standards, but it's salty goodness, and I love it.
Wow.
I love that.
It's quite the process, it seems like, to make it.
Yeah. Okay. What is the most impulsive purchase you've ever made, and do you regret it?
I am like the opposite of an impulse spender. I need 8 reasons to buy something usually. And if I'm gonna be impulsive, it's like a candy bar at the grocery store. But I would say the most impulsive thing, I think, I bought a bike. And I'm hearing impaired, I have terrible balance, and a bike was just not a great idea. I was like, you know what, I can get in shape and I can go do the things and all of that. And I rode it once, a mile and a half to the restaurant that I wanted to eat at, a mile and a half back, and parked it, and then never rode it again.
Oh, no.
So it just, I was, not very stable, I guess, and really clumsy. And so there was a few near falls. I didn't have health insurance at the time. I'm like, this is probably not the smartest idea.
Makes sense then. Yep. Okay. Oh, okay. So if you were a flavor of ice cream, what flavor would you be and why?
If I were a flavor of ice cream, I would be obnoxious, like bubble gum, all the crazy colors with the different pieces in it, served in a waffle cone with springs.
Ooh, I love this. Yes.
Taking you one step further from your question. But for me, it's all about positive. I've lived a really hard life. I have a lot of stuff from before I moved to Arizona, and when I moved into Arizona, I was like, you know what, my life's different now. It's gonna be amazing, and gumdrops and rainbows and all the things that are wonderful in the world. And it was really kind of a formational shift for me to really find the positive and end of it, because I think it's so easy for us to look at the negative or to even be neutral when there's always opportunity. And if you can look at things from that perspective and find those sort of morsels, your life's gonna be a lot more sweet.
Exactly.
Especially nowadays, there's so much negativity out there. This is the time.
Yeah, we need light in the world, that's for sure. Yeah. Okay, if you could erase one embarrassing moment from your life, what would it be?
Okay. Very, very specific. So I am a science nerd. I now have science degrees and all of those things. But back in 3rd grade, I was doing the science fair or whatever. And so to get us inspired, we went to this science museum for kids that went through and the whole thing, and then get back to the house, and my dad's like, so what do you learn? And so we're going through the different things, and there was, and it's funny now, I was so quick to tell this story, but you'll you'll realize the punchline here in a second. But it was one of those things that, it has the black base and it's got like the glass circle, and then there's the electricity on the inside, and it's got the little things coming out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so I was trying to sound all smart to my dad and like the whole thing. I was like, yeah, like the hair moving device. You just touch it and your hair moves. He's like, oh no, honey, that's not what that's called. And I was so resolute that that's what it was. It was a hair moving device.
Yeah.
Obviously, it sounded like static electricity. I can say that now. But yeah, that hair moving device literally followed me until he passed away.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just coming up in common conversation and the whole thing is one of those things that I wish I would have been able to better say, as it wouldn't been such a a continuing sort of oops that it had to be reminded of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a run-on joke for your whole life, basically. Yeah. Makes sense. A dad would do that. Yep. If you had to swap lives for a day with anyone from your events, who would it be and why?
I think that's a good question. If I would have to swap with anyone, I would say Ashley K. Butler. You can't forget the K. So I did say it. She is feisty, and she inspires me so much to be myself, unapologetically, authentically, and stand on my tiptoes about it. And I think living with that radical authenticity that she brings to every interaction that she has. I'm not saying that I'm guarded, but I'm a bit more introverted at times. And so kind of, going for it and standing in it. And she wears some very impactful outfits. I mean, she's stylish and beautiful and all of those things. But, that kind of extra, that joy to be, the joy of life, I think is something that she does very, very well. And I love to kind of sit in her shoes to kind of get more comfortable in that, and then come back and institute that better in my life.
I love that.
Absolutely.
That was my last question.
Nicole, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Can you give us a 30-second commercial of your business and how people can contact you?
Sure. So my name is Nicole Banks. I'm founder of The Niche Work. We're a business accelerator and networking platform that helps businesses do better business. So I'm kind of like a genie. I have over 200 different business niches and verticals I represent, and business owners come and tell me, hey, Nicole, I need a blank. I'm like, great. I got a girl, a gal, a guy, a company, somebody that can help fulfill that need for you. And so what I do, I'm kind of a business matchmaker in a lot of ways, and bringing, those services together with the business owners, normally in B2B, but I do obviously some B2C also. We're currently in 78 countries. We have more than 50,000 members, and our motto is collaborative expertise, collective success. I am all over on socials, Nicole Banks, and then the Niche Work, NICHE work. So my goal is, everybody has their expertise, and I call them niche works. So, basically making that connection between people that need them and niche works that I serve.
Nice. Now, I know you have a new podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Yes. Yeah. So it's Nicole's Business Notebook. The Niche Work has grown, obviously, to this, crazy network. And I realized that there's a lot of information that my business besties have that could benefit us all. So in our podcast, what I do is I interview them. I learn more about their story so that people can get some understand their credibility and experience, but then really kind of take it one step further. Okay, you're an expert in this. What should we all know so we can do better business? So it's meaningful conversations pointed towards entrepreneurs and those in business. And they are all about my business friends and getting everybody to be able to do better business together.
Nice. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for the next one.
Yes, 100%.